We call the meeting to order for the Cumberland Fiscal Management Subcommittee meeting Thursday, April 29th at 5:17 p.m. In accordance with Governor McKee's executive order 21-30 dated March 31st, 2021, the Cumberland School Committee intends to conduct this meeting remotely. The public can participate in this meeting remotely, but not in person, by calling area code 312-626-6799. The webinar ID is 930-6137-3276, or by going to the Cumberland Schools website under the events calendar, and you can click on the Zoom link for the meeting and be online here. And the passcode for that is 175019. So I see we have adequate people here from the public, so I will say that we have adequate public. So with that in mind, I need approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Collins, second by Mr. DeMarco. Mrs. Smith is not going to be attending tonight. So first order of business, we have approval of the minutes from April 8th, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Collins, second by Mr. DeMarco. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, 2-0. Next, there's payment of bills. There are no payment of bills. Alex, let's move Shauna Spillane and Will up, on this, and that way they can take care of their business. So let's go to Shauna first. Shauna, good afternoon or evening.
Good evening. I'm just going to share my screen. Perfect. Can everybody see?
Yes, we can.
Great. So I'm here to report on the fiscal close of March. So you can see the chart in front of you. In the top, in the J column, we have all of our costs, products, labor, controllables totaling in about 100K. And then down towards the bottom, we have our revenues. Again, our breakfast reimbursement at almost 36,000, our lunch reimbursement at almost 124. Certainly that reimbursement rate that we have been carrying this whole year has been significantly increasing those numbers. As you can see from a budget standpoint, we are extremely over where we had projected this time last year. So certainly it's been a blessing that we've had this higher reimbursement rate. Again, it's the same reimbursement rate that we use throughout the summer. All the meals are free, and they are at a higher rate for breakfast and for lunch. We also have a small amount of snack reimbursement that's coming from our Rise Academy site, and a small amount of a la carte sales, chips, cookies, things like that we've been offering at high school and middle school levels, trying to get some of those, kind of bringing the students back to normal with some of those extra items. So our total revenues were 165K, which puts us at a gain of about 60,000 for last month. This brings us to a total of 85 year to date, which puts us over our guarantee for our contract with Sodexo, and it puts us closer to our incentive rate, which is about 100,000. So certainly trending in the right area. Again, those reimbursement rates and sending meals home every single Friday with students has certainly boosted our numbers. Questions that anyone has about the operating statement from March?
Mr. Collins, do you have any questions?
I don't, other than I think my daughter's responsible for half the a la carte sales in CMS, but I don't have any questions.
That's
Oh,
a good
really?
thing.
Yeah, they're really happy we brought the chips back, and
Yeah. I know. Thank you. We have chips here, but that's okay.
All right. Sean, I have no questions about the report. I do have a question about summer. If I know the federal government's planning on doing the food again for the summer. Are
Yep,
we
so
go-
every year they have the summer program. I was actually just on a ride training this afternoon that was discussing some of the changes, which aren't very much to what we're currently running. The components of breakfast and lunch. They are asking us to submit our application by June 30th. So I have been in the midst of getting all that information, some of the waivers, such as serving students in a bulk pack out, sort of like we did last year, serving them, at a certain time. So more to come next report out on that.
Okay.
But certainly we are hoping to have a summer program this year, a little bit different than last year, a little bit better, hopefully more participation, and it obviously just being a great program for the community, trying to focus on some of the areas that really need those meals.
Okay. No other questions? Say thank you and good night.
Great, have a nice night. Thank you.
All right. Will, we'll bring you up and then Alex can take over the rest of the night. Anything going on other than I see the playground stuff is what it would cost to fix the playground? Anything new?
We finally got that quote in. As you can see, it's mostly the slide that's gonna cost us the bulk of it.
Right,
Alex would like to go and talk to the mayor about it and possibly get some money from him
right.
before we bring it to you guys to see
Yep.
for the
Okay,
approval. We did do a walkthrough for a walk-in refrigerator over at the high school kitchen. They need a new one, so we'll be getting bids on that pretty soon. And we're getting ready to start cutting grass again. It's starting to grow.
okay. All right. Nothing else to report? Any questions, Mr. Collins, or anything for Will?
I do not.
All right, thank you, Will. Good night.
Good night.
All right, next is Business Office Monthly Report. Alex? You're muted.
I don't have a monthly report tonight. We're in the middle of the month. I would just mention one thing though, so we don't forget, Bob and I have talked about it. I mentioned it to you, to Paul. We recently went out to bid for the renovations at the high school for those, for that corridor near the auditorium as part of the security project. And we'd like to get as much of that done, obviously, by the end of the year as possible, because we have $199,000 grant sitting with RIDE that they'll pay us when that project's done. So we'd like to get that. And so the vendor that we'll be bringing it forward to, that we would recommend do the job, is ready to do it, right away. And so I didn't realize we didn't have a school committee May 13th, which, I was like, what? We don't have a school committee? Why? And they told me that the commissioner or whatever canceled the day or whatever she did. So we kind of need a special meeting I'd like to have a special meeting to award that. And then we also have an issue, and Mike can pipe in if he wants. At North Cumberland Middle School, we want to replace a server. We want to replace an air conditioning unit that takes care of a server at that school for, a lot of the redundancy that the district needs to have. And it's been, with no kids in school, it's been type of thing. The air conditioner should have been replaced, but we were able to keep that door open, and it was the winter and that type of stuff. But we feel we need to replace that in order to make sure that server is not, doesn't burn out, I guess would be the
Right.
word. I don't know,
Yeah.
Mike, you want to add anything?
Yeah, it's our secondary location for server and storage. So it's a lot of switches. It's on an interior room. It gets extremely hot in there. There is 2 doors, so we've been able to use a fan floor dryer just to kind of keep some airflow, because the kids haven't been there. But now that the heat's coming in, we've got some prices on replacement of the unit, and it needs to be replaced in order to keep that equipment running safely.
Right, and we went out to bid for this already, Alex, right?
We got a couple of bids on this, and actually the low bidder, I think, did the job in the past, and they actually are even on the state's MPA. So either way, we'd be okay using them.
Right.
Auden was one of the bidders, and then the guy that we were gonna recommend, and
Right. The company is Automatic Temperature Controls of Cranston.
right.
Would you consider this a something that needs to be resolved immediately, Mr. Chandler, because of, understand the heat in server rooms, that we could address it with the full school committee tonight and see how they feel under my fiscal report about go ahead and moving forward and putting
Yeah,
this on our next.
it is an emergency because it puts the equipment at risk. And now
Okay.
that it's getting hotter, it's becoming more of a problem. So,
Okay, I'll bring this up tonight during my fiscal report, letting the members know. I mean, normally we would, we went out to bid, we did everything we did, but it just didn't make the agenda. And so I think this is one of those things where if we don't fix it, we'll be in trouble. So I'll bring it up tonight and we'll see where the committee goes on that one. Okay, Alex, anything else do you have, or?
No, I just want to mention that high school security project, the first piece of it, they've landscaped, they've done all that. It's just about complete except for, some of the cameras and some of the security piece of it.
Right.
And like I said, we've gone out to bid. We've had Torado draw up a design for those adjacent rooms
Mhm.
across from the auditorium for guidance and special ed that we would use.
Right,
And we'd like to get moving on that so that it's certainly, we don't run into any problems with school opening or whatever, and the
Okay.
summer goes by fast, all that has to happen. And like I said, if we could claim the project substantially complete, we could get that
Right.
$199,000.
I'll mention it to the chair tonight about having a special meeting. Are you ready to go on that?
Yeah, and I apologize, I didn't know about May 13th, but
I understand, but are you ready to go on that if we can have a scheduled meeting for next week or something?
we're all set.
Okay.
We've analyzed the bids and we're ready to award.
All right, then, maybe the chairwoman will schedule a special meeting for next Thursday or something. I don't think these two items that we have here will take more than 20 minutes to resolve, and we just keep these projects moving before school open. Okay, superintendent's.
If I may,
Go ahead.
while we have Alex here, I do have a question. I don't know. Do you have any clarity around the ESSER money coming in? So you're hearing things about ESSER 1, 2, and 3.
ESSA 1 is done.
Yeah, I knew that,
We've
but
spent
2,
that money.
3,
ESSA 2, we've received how the money could be spent. Basically, I think there were like 15 items that you could spend the money on in the past, and they've increased that list. They've added 3 or 4 different items, but you could spend it on, it's pretty broad as far as you can spend it on capital items and that type of stuff. But we met with, the business manager group met with we meet every Thursday, and Ride attends that meeting, and they didn't have anything to report new on ESSA. So at this point, nothing new. So they don't even have the documents in there's a software that they use called Acela Grants that we go through for grants and that type of stuff. They don't even have the documents for this ESSA 2 yet available in Acela Grants so that you could start the process of entering how you want to spend it and those sort of things. So they're not ready yet.
what's the story with this ESSER 3? I heard was it Woonsocket or somebody, ESSER 3? Do you know anything about that?
ESSA 3 is the American Recovery money, I believe. And that will be over $4 million. It should be 8 times as big as first ESSA money, which was $530,000 roughly. And they said that the ESSA 3 would be about 8 times that size, but I have nothing on it at all.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Bob, is your superintendent's group got anything? No?
Muted.
here, Bob.
Sorry. We had our weekly meeting on Tuesday. I mean, ESSA was mentioned, but there was nothing of significance shared in the meeting. And I think superintendents and others, certainly business managers and others, are anxious to get a little bit more direction on how the money can be used. So not a whole lot of information is out right now. There's some, but it's not clear. And one of the things we discussed was like, people are looking for some guidance on what can be done legally and what cannot be done. So the representatives from RIDE who were in attendance at the meeting actually said that they were going to be reaching out to the United States Department of Ed for clarification on some things. I think people are anxious to and ready to utilize the funds, but they want to make sure that they're doing it right. And there is it's a little frustrating, as Alex said, that we can't start utilizing Excel grants to share how we want to use the money. And it has to be used within a certain period of time. I mean, the clock is actually ticking now. It has already started. So people are anxious to see how they can use it. So that's where we are in our superintendent's meetings with that topic.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Next is discussion of superintendent's employment contract. Mr. Pignano, is this thing budgeted for the fiscal year next year?
Yeah, well, everyone, all the G6 people are budgeted at, and like Bob has mentioned a number of times, there were no raises at all in the budget. So it's budgeted at whatever Bob would have been making this year, as Mike, Katie, myself, were all budgeted what we were making this year.
Okay. And you've seen the employment contract? Has he seen Mr. Pignano, have you seen the employment contract, or Mrs. Dunkerson? Maybe you can.
No, I haven't seen it.
The contract is in the folders, and I think Mr. Adams sent out an email with the financial implications of the contract, and a few things were moved around, but it's in essence budget neutral from the current contract.
All right, so that's something that fiscal doesn't have to worry about approving.
Yeah, and that's what I heard. I had heard also from Mr. Adams that it was
Okay.
pretty much what.
Yeah, I
what was-
saw that email as well. All right, CHS activity reports are normally filed. And is there any public comment? I see really only Dr. Masterson in here for public. Mr. Chandler, you see anyone on the phone?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right, unless Mr. Masterson, unmutes himself, I guess there is no public comment. It is 5:35 PM. I need a motion to adjourn.
Oh, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Collins, second by Mr. DeMartica. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it at 5:35 PM. Thank you, everyone.
See you in a little bit.
Thank you.